Game 1. The key phrase in the scenario for this game is the sequence of exactly 5 instrumental pieces. Since we're putting 5 things into a sequence, we can identify this as an ordering game or a sequencing game. So, for the sketch, we're going to need the same number of dashes or slots as we have things to put in order, and we're going to need a list of the things that we're putting in order, R, S, T, V, and W. That's about all we can do before we go to the rules. The first rule indicates that S has to be earlier than V, which we can indicate with an S and then a dash and a V. S is in front of V. The second rule and the third rule are a little bit more complicated. The second rule says that T has to be in front of R and S or after R and S. So we're going to need to write both ways into our notes. T is in front of R and S would be a T followed by RS with 2 dash lines, just like the S in front of V. But we also need to indicate the other way around, so T could come after both R and S. So basically the only thing that this rule blocks is T being in between R and S. And then rule 3 basically does the same thing with W, R, and T. W has to be in front of R and T, or it has to be after them. It can never be in between them. And that's about all we can do before we go on to the questions. Each of these rules would interact with at least one of the other rules, but there's still always going to be a lot that's up in the air no matter which 2 rules we choose to focus on at a time. If you glance over at the questions, you can see that they're mostly local questions, a lot of ifs. That's a pretty good sign that most of the work of the game is going to happen during those questions. We don't need a lot before we get to them. So, with that, we're going to go on to the questions. As always, tackle the solution questions and the local questions first, leaving global questions and weird things for later. Here there's only one non-local question, so we're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 5 to go to 6 and 7, and then come back to question 5.